Hi everyone, my name is Karen, this is my channel RatherBeReading, and today I'm bringing to you my November book haul. So I didn't go completely crazy in November, but I definitely ended up with more books than I should have. So let's jump straight in. As always, we will start off with the library books that I picked up in the month of November. So the first book I picked up from the library was Exile for Dreamers by Kathleen Baldwin. This is the sequel and second book in what I believe is a trilogy of the Strange House series. This is not a direct sequel, like I think in terms of timeline it is, but it's a companion novel. So this follows a different girl from Strange House, which I'm excited about because while the first book was okay, I didn't love it, and I am excited to read a book from this character's perspective because I was particularly interested in the kind of blossoming romance that's happening with this character. So I'm looking forward to eventually reading this one, and I'm hoping it's a little bit of an improvement on the first one. Next, I picked up Hungry Hill by Daphne du Maurier. This is the next classic and Daphne du Maurier that I'm going to try. I have read a lot of not a lot, I've read some Daphne du Maurier, and I've loved most of what I've read, in particular Rebecca. Obviously, I love that book. This one I've never really heard anything about, but from a quick skim of the back, it appears to be about two families who are feuding because one family, I think, lives on the other's estate, and they manage to gather all this wealth from living there that the other family feels like should belong to them, and so these two families are feuding. That's all I really know about it. Like I said, I've never really heard anyone talk about this one, so I'm hoping that it lives up to some of Daphne du Maurier's other books. Next from the library, I picked up Empire by Lily St. Germain. This is the third, and I think this is the final book. I think this is a trilogy I think it's, the Cartel trilogy, so that's correct. I own the first two of these, but I won the first one in a giveaway online. I think it was from Dimmicks, if I recall correctly, and then I bought the second one when I saw it at Target for a pretty good price before I'd read the first one, and now I've read those two books and I ain't spending any more money on this series because I want to find out how it ends, but I'm not willing to spend any more money on it. This is an adult erotica. In case you couldn't tell, the library has put this big sticker on the front that says erotica, which I guess is like a warning in case like a child picks this up, that the parent knows that they're going to be getting out some erotica. But at the same time, I feel like this is going to shame me on the bus if I want to read this, that everyone on the bus is going to be like, she's reading erotica. So that's great. But yeah, this series is just frankly ridiculous. And yeah, it involves motorcycle gangs and drug cartels, and it's pretty like raunchy. I mean, it's erotica. So yeah, I'm just basically didn't want to spend any more money on this, but I wanted to find out how the trilogy ends, so I picked this up from the library. Next, I picked up Fracture by Megan Miranda. So Megan Miranda, I have read her two most recently published books, which were adult psychological thrillers, All the Missing Girls and The Perfect Stranger, and I really enjoyed the way that she writes. And when I was looking into her, I realized that she has previously written a YA duology, the first book being Fracture, and so I decided to check it out because I have really enjoyed her writing, like I said. So this is a young adult, kind of paranormal-ish, I think, story about a girl who falls into a frozen lake, and by the time she's pulled out, she's like stopped breathing, and I presume she's like technically dead for a little bit, and she's revived, and since she's revived, she's been able to, I think, sense death. And then she comes across this boy in her town who can also sense death because he has recently come out of a coma. So that's all I really know about it. It sounds kind of cheesy, to be honest, but like I said, I've enjoyed Megan Miranda's adult work, so I thought I'd check out some of her young adult fiction. Next, I picked up Sweetly by Jackson Pierce. So this is the second book in the fairy tale retelling series. The first book was Sisters Red, and if you recall, I didn't love that book. So Sisters Red was a Little Red Riding Hood retelling, and it just wasn't my favorite, but this is a Hansel and Gretel retelling. And so I was interested in giving this a go because I feel like Hansel and Gretel is not a fairy tale that we get too many retellings of. So I thought I'd give this one a go, and then if I don't like this one, I probably won't continue with the series given that I didn't enjoy the first that much. So yeah, but I did want to give this a go because I just think, like I said, that Hansel and Gretel is a really underdone fairy tale retelling. And finally, from the library, I picked up Fruits Basket Volume 2 by Natsuki Takaya. This is the second collector's edition volume. I read the first one and I enjoyed it okay. I gave it 3 stars, but I didn't love it. And so I want to give this second volume a go and see again if I want to progress with the series, because again, I forgot to check before I started filming, but this is a really, really long series. Like, I think this has like at least 16 collector's edition volumes, so it's a big commitment. So yeah, I want to read this one and then decide kind of if I want to continue with this or not. So now moving on to the books that I purchased with my own hard-earned dollars in the month of November. So if you recall, in last month's book haul, I purchased The Suspicions of Mr. Witcher in those new Bloomsbury Modern Classics editions, and so I purchased 3 others from that line. I think there are 12 books in total, so I own 4 of them, and that's all I'm going to get because I'm not too interested in any of the others, but I really loved the edition, so I picked out 3 others that I was interested in reading. So the first of those is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I don't 100% know what this is about. I think this is a retelling of the Odyssey by Homer, I think. I know it's got to do with Achilles and Patroclus. And while I don't know what it's about, I've heard really good reviews about this. Like, every time I hear someone talk about it, they're saying really positive things. And I just really loved these editions. That's why I bought it. So these are in like a matte, like cardboardy almost cover with the French flaps. And they're just so, so pretty. So I got that one. I also got Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. So this one is ginormous. I always see this book, this is like over 1,000 pages. I always see this book in bookstores, and I've never really known what it's about, to be honest, but I've always been interested in it. I think it's got to do, it's like a historical, magical book, I think, so I picked up this one as well. And the last one of those Modern Classics editions I picked up is The Little Friend by Donna Tartt. This is another really, really huge one. This one is, how many pages is this one? Just over 700 pages, this one. Now, this is an interesting twist for me to pick up because I have read The Secret History by Donna Tartt, and it was okay, but I didn't love it. And then I own The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt, which I bought because it was cheap, even though I had no real interest in reading it. And now I own The Little Friend by Donna Tartt, which I'd never heard of, but I obviously know who Donna Tartt is. And I read the synopsis of this one, and this one is about is he 12? 9. A 9-year-old boy who is found by his family, I think, hanging by his neck in their front garden. And it's been 12 years since that happened, and they still don't know, like, what happened to him. And it's about, I think, his sister. Is it his sister? Yeah, sets out to find her brother's murderer and punish him. But what starts out as a child's game soon becomes a dangerous journey into the menacing underworld of a small Mississippi town. So I love books set within small towns because there's just something about that kind of oppressive nature that can kind of come with a small town that I really, really love, particularly when it's got to do with mysteries. I also like the kind of smaller pool of suspects and like closed case mysteries type of thing. So this sounds right up my street, even though I'm not 100% sure how I feel about Donna Tartt as an author, but the edition was really, really pretty. So I ordered those Modern Classics editions with a leftover money on a gift card that I had to QBD. I also had some money left on a gift card to Dimmicks, and in addition to that, Dimmicks were having a VIP day, so if you were a Book Lovers reward member, which I am, they were having 20% off, so I picked up 2 books that I'd been wanting for a really, really long time. So with the 20% off and the money left on my gift card, these came out quite cheap. So the first I got is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. Everyone knows what this is about. This is a book about a female high schooler who is in a car with her male best friend. They are both black, and they are pulled over by a police officer, and her best friend ends up being shot and killed by the police officer, even though they are both unarmed. And it's about, obviously, the Black Lives Matter movement and all of those types of things. This gets absolutely rave reviews, and I've been wanting to read it for a long time. I love the pink spine on this, and I'm really glad to have this in my hands. I also picked up Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. I've been wanting this book for so, so long. Everybody talks about how much of a mindfuck this is, and if there's anything I like in a book, it's a mindfuck. That sounded really weird, but you know what I mean. So this is about a guy who wakes up one day and finds that his whole life is different to what he remembers. Like, his wife is not his wife, and he doesn't have his son. I think this is a little bit science fiction-y based, which is not necessarily my thing, but people say that even though it's science fiction-y and the science, like, it doesn't really bother them. So I haven't heard a bad review of this. Like, I literally have not heard a bad review, so I'm really, really excited to read this because I think I'm gonna love it. Next, I made a trip to Savers because I'm an idiot, but I only picked up 3 books, so it wasn't too bad. So first I picked up Don't Judge Me, Grey by E.L. James. So I own the 50 Shades trilogy. I've read the 50 Shades trilogy. I don't think it's good, but I enjoy it. And so I just saw this there for cheap. I don't know when I'll read this, and I really don't like either books that are just retold from a different character's perspective, but it's the same story. So in all seriousness, I probably shouldn't have bought this, but it was like $3 or $4. It was $3, so I just kind of picked it up. Also picked up Thornwood House by Anna Roma. I'd never heard of this. I don't know too much about it, but it appears to be one of those books that follows kind of different timelines. So it's set in modern day, but then she discovers, I think, a photo, of a handsome World War II medic. And so she's digging into his past and his story. So it's kind of set in the dual kind of timelines. This is also set in Australia. So I presume it's by an Australian author, although don't quote me on that because I'm not 100% sure. And it was apparently also in the top 50 books you can't put down, even though I've never heard of this. But yeah, the cover kind of pulled me in, and then I read the synopsis and it sounded pretty interesting, so I grabbed it. Next, I picked up The Lie Tree by Frances Harding. This won the Costa Book of the Year in 2015, and I've heard a lot about this, but I'd never really seen it anywhere or just really thought about picking it up. When I saw it in the bookstore, in Savers, I decided to grab it. This is about some kind of tree that if you tell it lies, then it will give you a truth, I think. That's all I really know about it. I'm not sure how that kind of feeds into an overall plot, but that's what I know about it, and that sounds really interesting. I've heard good things about it. Obviously, it won the Costa Book Award, so it must be pretty decent. Next, going back a little bit, before all of these books that I've shown you so far, I had 4 other books here that I meant to show you and I just completely forgot about. So there is a secondhand book market kind of across the road from where I work, and in my opinion the books are vastly overpriced. They're really overpriced. You can get books, brand new books, cheaper online. So I don't generally shop there, but they were having this kind of separate sale on specific books that you could go and look at. They were all $5 each, obviously presumably on overflow stock. And so I went to have a look and I picked up 2 books there. So I picked up Into the Water by Paula Hawkins. I was really excited to see this there because it's obviously a fairly newish release and it was only $5. I enjoyed The Girl on the Train. I've heard really mixed things about this because it's got apparently so many narrators, but I enjoyed The Girl on the Train, so I wanted to give this a go. Apologies if the angle just changed at all. My battery died. I'm having all kinds of problems with this video. Anyway, moving on. The next book I picked up from that same sale of the books that were only $5, I picked up The Night Watch by Sarah Waters. So Sarah Waters is an author that I hear a lot about. I own Fingersmith, and that's the one that I'm most excited to pick up from her, but I feel like I'm gonna love her books. I'm also really interested in Tipping the Velvet. There's another one that I can't recall the name of right now that I would also be interested in picking up, but now I own 2 of hers, so I should hopefully be probably getting to the Fingersmith in the early part of next year, maybe. We'll see. But yeah, so I have no idea what this is about. I know that she writes historical fiction. Yeah, this is set in the 40s, I think. 4 Londoners, 3 women, and a young man with a past drawn with absolute truth and intimacy. So yeah, I've heard good things about it and I just grabbed it. So if you recall my book haul from last month, at the end of that book haul, I had 1 book from kind of the monthly book depository order that had come in October. The other 2 books of that order came in at the start of November. So I have Into the Still Blue by Veronica Rossi. I can't remember if this is book 2 or book 3 in this series, but I own book 1, potentially book 1 and 2, and this is the next one that I needed to grab, so I picked this up in the month of November. And another book that I'm really excited for made up the last of that order, and it was The Female of the Species by Mindy McGuinness. So I've mentioned before on this channel that I'm very interested in books surrounding rape culture, and this is about a girl who I believe her sister is murdered, and her 2 of her friends decide that they're going to seek revenge on the killer because he was never brought to justice. That's all I really know about it, but I think it's got a lot to do with kind of rape culture, and more rape culture in the way that how women are perceived and violence against women, or that type of thing. I'm very interested in this. I've heard really great things about it. I'm not normally into really bright yellows or greens, but I love this cover, and I love how it's called The Female of the Species, and then it's got animals and what the female of that species is called. So you've got Vixen, Cow, Jill, which I never knew a female otter was called Jill, so that's interesting. Queen. And then this one, which is the dog, is scratched out because obviously a female dog is a bitch, and I just really like that as well. And then you've got Woman. Yeah, I just really like this, and I'm really excited to eventually get to read this. Apologies again if the camera angle changed. This time I ran out of memory on my camera. So yeah, moving right along. now that I touched on the books that I missed at the start of the book haul, we're back to the books that I purchased near the end of November. So when I was in Sydney visiting my friend Emma, which, hi Emma, I know Emma watches my videos now, so hi Emma. There's a bookstore near Emma's house that has every book in there is only $6. They don't have like that much great stuff in there, but I did see one book in there that I was very interested in, and that is The Tidal Zone by Sarah Moss. So I marked this as to read quite a while ago. This was getting a lot of buzz from the booktubers who read like a lot of literary fiction. All I know about it is that this is about a girl. I think she has the father is a single father, and then she's at school one day and she goes into like some kind of cardiac arrest and like almost dies. And then I think it's just about them and how they cope with it. Like I said, all I know about it mainly is that this got such rave reviews, and I saw it there and it was only $6, and it's a really nice edition. Like, it's one of those really like soft, and again, this has got French flaps. So yeah, I was just excited to see this there for a really cheap price. So we had one partial book depository order. Now we have another partial book depository order. So I bought my normal 3 books through book depository, but only 2 of them arrived in November. The first of those is Saga Volume 4 by Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. I think I hauled Volume 3 of this last month. I really enjoy Saga, or I have enjoyed the early volume, so I decided ages ago to purchase these, and so I picked this one up. So I now own the first 4 volumes of this. And finally, we have Fire with Fire by Jenny Han and Siobhan Vivian. I own Burn for Burn, which I bought ages ago, and I never picked up any further books in the series, so I now own book 2. I think the first book is about 3 girls who all want to get revenge on not the same person, but they each have someone that they want to get revenge on, so they band together to help each other like exact those revenges, I think. And then I presume that it's all going to go awry. I don't know. Like I said, I own the first book, so I decided to pick up the rest of the books. Eventually I'll buy, I think it's Ashes to Ashes. So yeah, I have this one as well. So those were all of the books that I picked up in the month of November. I apologize that this video was such a mess, but I would love to chat with you guys in the comments down below if you have read any of the books that I picked up. If you've got any thoughts or any books that you picked up in the month of December that you're really, really excited for, I would love to chat down below. Please like this video if you liked it. Please subscribe if you want to see more from my channel. But that's all I've got for this video today. Bye guys. I feel like Hansel and Gretel is not a, oh my god, that scared the absolute shit out of me. Oh my god. That's my ringtone in case you're wondering.